Hello, I'm Jeff Thomson, President and CEO of the Institute of Management Accountants, and welcome to our third installment in the series called Series for the Future. If you recall, our first two installments covered digital technologies, how they're changing the face of the finance and accounting profession, and we also began to cover broadly the competencies that accountants needed to upskill themselves to be relevant and influential in a digital age. The second installment of Series for the Future touched a little bit more globally on the fact that this digital revolution is in fact global. It impacts supply chains in finance and accounting, in research and development, and elsewhere. But I also honed in very much on India, since I had just come back from India, where 40% of the world's data scientists reside. So a big market for this wave toward upskilling accountants in the area of data analytics and data visualization, etc. So that's just to kind of level set ourselves in terms of bridging to this installment Series for the Future, which is focused on the question, why is accounting an attractive profession for millennials and Gen Z? And at the surface, it might seem like, how could you make that case when you think about what attracts millennials and Gen Z? Well, let's just level set ourselves first in terms of definitions. Of course, millennials are age 21 through 33. Statistics show that they comprise about a third of the workforce in the US and possibly even higher in regions of the world like the Middle East. Gen Z are, of course, under age 21. They're the incoming crop of millennials. So on the surface, you might say, gee, I've heard a lot about the accounting profession and the STEM programs siphoning off those who otherwise would have gone into accounting from the Gen Z generation. STEM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And why would anybody want to go into boring accounting? It's numbers, it's really not influential. What's the value to corporations or society? Well, I'm going to try to make the case here, as IMA always makes the case, in terms of this being an incredibly inspirational and influential profession of accounting. So let's step back and think about what attracts millennials and Gen Z to a profession. And I'm going to hone in on two areas and then make the case that accounting more than satisfies their aspirations as Gen Z and millennials. Well, first of all, there's the notion of making a difference, corporate social responsibility, not just about the paycheck, but about the service to the bigger picture, to the planet, to people. Not just profits, but people, planet, and profits perhaps. So there's that aspect of making a societal difference. But the second aspect is this digital wave. Of course, Gen Z and millennials not only think outside the box when it comes to the Internet of Things, they throw away the box entirely. So if I were just to hone in on those two areas, and there's many others, how can I possibly make the case that accounting satisfies those two areas of interest? Well, let's first start with corporate social responsibility and making a difference. Look, accountants always made a difference. When you think about their responsibility for value stewardship and safeguarding of assets, ethically and fairly reporting the financial condition of the corporation, we are counted on to inform investors, to inform to inform others in our accounting ecosystem, to create stronger societies. You know, we tend to think of accounting in stable, mature markets, but what about markets, microeconomies with no infrastructure that need accountants to make a difference? So in addition, in this area of corporate social responsibility, you know, accountants are responsible, of course, for financial performance. We know that. For ethically and accurately reporting the financial condition, as I mentioned earlier, for good, solid internal controls, for compliance, for attestation. They're absolutely responsible for that. But increasingly, accountants are responsible for understanding, reporting, and analyzing a broader spectrum of performance results in the area of non-financial performance, also known as sustainability accounting, integrated reporting, balanced scorecard. When you think about what describes the performance of an organization, whether you're for-profit or non-for-profit, it's not just short-term booked financial results. It's a broader set of non-financial performance that includes employees, retention, innovation, customer lifetime value, leading indicators, lagging indicators, talent management, the reputation of the firm. Many of these things play into the ultimate performance of an enterprise and its sustainable growth path. And yes, accountants, management accountants, are not only responsible for being stewards of value and safeguarding of assets, they are responsible also for helping to drive and be the catalyst for future results that affect the corporation and ultimately impact society. So think not just 10Ks or 10Qs in the US, balance sheets and income statements. Think about balanced scorecards. Think about all of these broader set of performance results, both leading and lagging indicators, have to be controlled, have to have risk management profiles, have to be analyzed, and require foresight and insight. So yes, accountants play a major role in corporate social responsibility and making a difference for the company and for society at large. Let's next move to the second point, which thematically aligns with the first two tapings of Series for the Future, and that's this digital revolution. We all know that it's not an emerging trend that jobs and tasks are being automated in finance and accounting. It's here today, whether it's blockchain or artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, machine learning. Jobs are being replaced and displaced today through automation. Think Watson, think other forms of automation like robotics process automation. And then you say, well, so how are you making the case that that's good for the profession and would attract Millennials and Gen Z who are very device-driven in terms of the Internet of Things, and as I said earlier, not just thinking outside the box, but throwing away the box entirely? Well, the reality is that technology has been a major part of accounting for a long time, and going forward, technology and analytics will be an even greater part of our great profession. You know, accounting is not often a silo. Accountants are not all in the back office crunching numbers. They're part of the fabric of the business. Accountants are those that understand not only how cash flows, but how value flows. They're business people. They not only offer oversight and hindsight, they offer foresight and insight going forward. So when you think about technology and automation, accountants are a major part of automating the transaction processing type activities, more of the auditing activities, because that makes for a stronger organization ultimately. However, we are also getting more heavily as a profession in the areas of data analytics, data visualization, and storytelling. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about accountants being storytellers? But as they offer insight and foresight as CFOs to the CEO, to the board of directors, to investors, to regulators, they're telling a story. They're telling a story of performance. They're telling a story of risk. They're telling a story of what it's going to take to grow with confidence and integrity. So it's very, very important to understand that while the future of our profession very much relies on us stepping up and upskilling in the spirit of continuous learning and growth, we are up to the challenge. We are up to that tech challenge, whether you call it fintech or reg tech. Technology is not off on the side and accountants are in the back office. They are very much mutually dependent for success in the organization and the ultimate enrichment of society. So thank you for joining this third installment of Series for the Future, and have a wonderful day.